Okay, it's Monday. M for Monday, M for Mendelssohn. Yeah, I'm nerdy, it's fine. Okay, repeat after me. Tiki, tiki, tiki. Tiki, tiki, tiki. Now take out the vocalization so we just hear those percussive sounds. Tiki, tiki, tiki. Do it. Tiki, tiki, tiki. Now let's change it to a different vowel. Tuku, tuku, tuku. Tuku, tuku, tuku. And take out the vocalization. Tuku, tuku, tuku. Tuku, tuku, tuku. Aha. So if you could successfully do that and take out the vocalizations, that means you have just started your double tonguing practice. Double tonguing is when we use the front of the tongue that makes the t articulation, and we alternate that with the back of the tongue, which makes a k, 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 type of articulation sound. So Mendelssohn at tempo, for many of you, you will need to use a double tongue articulation to perform it at tempo. So once you get to tempo, you can switch to double tongue. Until you're actually really comfortable with the technique in this piece, I think you should practice your double tonguing on something that takes technique out of the picture, such as one note. So I'm gonna play the G above the staff, and I'm gonna focus on while I'm playing the G instead of just okay? Just the G above the staff. A couple things to remember about double tonguing is that you want to keep the air fast and consistently going somewhere. You don't want stagnant air. Otherwise, you'll start to feel a little tongue-tied and like stuck. Remember, your air speed and your gas pedal comes from your core. So if you keep your core engaged, your airspeed should theoretically be constantly moving. The other thing you want to keep in mind is you want this, the lip plate, to be really quite firm on your face, like it's part of you. If you have braces, you need to figure out what that means for you. I don't have much advice in that area, but keep this firm, keep the air steady, and try the G again. Oh, two ways to keep this firm. One is to simply push harder with your left hand here, or take your right hand, the one that's further away, and push the flute forward a little, and that can help firm this up. So, G. I want you to remember that fast air does not mean a huge quantity of air. You can easily overblow this, and then here's what you will get. And you'll start to feel dizzy real fast. So fast air does not mean a big amount of air. A big volume of air just means fast, okay? The other thing about double tonguing is it's actually, as scary as it might sound for some people, it's easier to practice faster. When you're under tempo practicing double tonguing, you overthink it and you're trying to think too much about the two and the coo and the two and the coo, and all of a sudden you're tongue tied and you're going coo coo coo, and just do it fast, okay? Just go for it. I said try practicing on one note for speed to take technique out of the picture. I think that will help. What I even do sometimes to practice different registers of double tonguing, I'm looking at the Mendelssohn, so I'll pick one note in the low register. So I'll pick the low D and just double tongue on that for a few measures. And then I'll pick something in the middle, like the B flat. And then I'll pick something higher, like the G. And that kind of gives you a feel for what your embouchure and needs to do for the different registers, and how fast your air can be for the different registers. While you are practicing Mendelssohn, metronome, pencil, okay? You're probably going to be practicing this at a tempo that does not require double tonguing yet. So by all means, practice it single tongued while you're under tempo. I'm going to put this down really low. Remember, we need to find our can't mess it up tempo. I'm going to put it at something dreadful. I'm going to put it at 44. Oh yeah, that's painful. I'm going to make another video about technique, metronome practice and how to use the metronome really effectively. Once I do that, you'll start to see how you can use the metronome to subdivide for you, especially under tempo. But for now, here is my really slow practice technique example, breathing anywhere for a whole beat when I need to take a breath. So on and so forth. I was actually impressed with myself at how far I got in those breaths with this tempo. In the last excerpt in Dvorak, I believe I said to ignore dynamics and style while you were practicing your technique. But for Mendelssohn, I think it's okay to just, from the start, even under tempo, really be thinking about a separated style as you're learning this under tempo, okay? This is not meant to be pretty. This is not lyrical. Hopefully you already listened to the piece. This is just like matter of fact, just staccato all the way through. Also very quiet all the way through. That's going to help your breathing. Okay, the last thing, breathe anywhere that you need to for now. The next video I'm going to make just for this excerpt is going to go in depth on the breathing scheme that you should aim for and a backup breathing scheme as well. Notice the tempo requirement for this is, usually we see tempos to the quarter note. The tempo for this is to the dotted quarter note. It looks like this. If you were to break this down into smaller subdivisions, the next thing we're looking at is eighth notes. So think about how many eighth notes live inside of a dotted quarter note. I'm sure you know that a quarter note has 2 eighth notes. The dot there means to add half the value of the note that is dotted. So if the base subdivision of a quarter note is 2 eighth notes, what is half of 2 eighth notes? 1 eighth note. So we need to add 1 eighth note to this. Math is fun. Okay, so the dotted quarter note is the value of 3 eighth notes. And guess what? This piece is in 3/8 time. So 3/8. It doesn't say, but I mentioned in the first video that you should have started with that this piece is in 3/8. That means that in 3/8 time, the dotted quarter note, that's the whole measure. Okay? In 4/4 time, when you're looking at a tempo that says quarter note equals 20, well, there's 4 quarter notes in a measure. So that's not the measure of time. But in this case, it's 3/8 time, and they want you to have the tempo set to the whole measure. So the click you hear, click, turn it on. That's every downbeat. That's not every beat within the measure, okay? 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1. So on and so forth. So your goal tempo is, I believe it was around 60 to 68, if I recall. What I was doing was about 44. I'm going to play it for you once at, I'll do it at 68 so you can hear it. Oh, I'm going to do it at 69 because my metronome is set to preset numbers. Here we go. I'm still going to stop and breathe for the most part freely to reiterate to you what I want you to do when you're practicing. Oh. The 2 measures of silence there at the end are real. You need to count through them. What you can think in your head is what happens in the actual clip in the piece. Another instrument plays that exact rhythm during the rest. So if you just think that rhythm to yourself, I usually count in my head as you heard me count out loud. Well, 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, bum. And then I come in the next downbeat. Okay? So get to practicing. Have fun. Happy Monday.